everyone, for today's video I will report to you the rules of softball. But for this video I will report the rule number 1 to rule number 4. In rule number 1, which is definition, there have 105 sections in rule number 1. So section number 1, which is altered bat. Ano nga ba yung altered bat? Altered bats and non-approved bats are both types of illegal bats. So, kailan ba nangyayari yung altered bat? Nangyayari yung altered bats kapag yung mga bats na ginagamit ng mga player are broken, o altered, from the word altered, yung binago, o something may nilagay sila sa bat na to enhance their performance, which is altered bat yun. Section number 2, appeal play. A live or dead ball, appeal is a play or situation on which an umpire cannot make a decision unless requested by a manager, coach, or player. Section 3, ball compression, is a measure of how hard a softball is. So sinusukat nila kung gaano katigas yung softball, yung bola na ginagamit sa softball. The higher the compression, the harder the ball, and generally the farther it will fly. Compression is measured by how many pounds or force are needed to squeeze two sides of the ball in by a total of 1/4 of an inch. So yun yung ball compression. Next section is ball core. So ano nga ba itong ball core? The measurement of the bounce of the ball. Itong ball core naman, sinusukat yung bounce ng bola. Sa ball compression, sinusukat kung gaano katigas yung bola. Sa ball core, sinusukat kung yung bounce ng bola. Softballs with a higher core are livelier and result in farther and faster traveling hits. Section 5, baseline. The baseline in softball are 60 feet. When measuring baselines, the proper way to do it is from the back of home plate to the back right corner of first base, then from the back right corner of first base to the center of second base. So yun yung pagsukat ng baseline. Yung baseline ng softball is 60 feet lamang. Section 6, base on balls. Base on balls, tinatawag ring a walk. A walk or base on balls occurs when a pitcher throws 4 pitches out of the strike zone, none of which are swung at by the hitter, after refraining from swinging at 4 pitches out of the zone. The batter is awarded first base. Section 7, base path. It is the direct line between the runner and the base to which she is either attempting to advance or retreat at the moment that a defensive player is attempting to hurt. Next section is batted ball. Ano nga ba yung batted ball? It's a pitch that has been contacted by the batter's ball. A batted ball can become either a fair ball or a foul ball. Next is batter. A batter or a base runner. So yung batter itinatawag ding base runner is a player who has finished his or her turn at bat but has not yet been put out or touched first base. Section 10, batter's box. Yung batter's box is yan yung pwesto ng batter, kung saan yung nagbabat. The batter's box, one on each side of home plate, shall measure 3 feet by 7 feet including the lines. So yun yung sukat ng batter's box. Next is batter runner. Ang batter runner is the term used to describe the offensive player right after he has successfully hit the ball and put it into play. So yun yung batter runner. Next is section 12, batting order. Ano nga ba yung batting order? In rule number 1, section number 12, the batting order is the official listing of offensive player in the order in which members of that team must come to bat. Next is black ball. It's a batted or thrown ball that is touched, stopped, or handled by a person not engaged in the game, or while touch any object which is not part of the official equipment or official playing area. Next is bunt. It's a technique that the batter uses, especially in the fast pitch game. Bunt is performed by hitting the ball with a loosely gripped bat in front of the home plate and forcing the ball to bounce off from the bat. Next is catch. From the word catch, siyempre, magsasalo ka ng bola. It's a legally caught ball. Ayan, caught ball, which occurs when the fielder catches a batted or thrown ball with his hands or glove. Paano nga ba mag-catch ng bola? So, narito. How to catch the ball. First, you need to keep your eye on the ball. Siyempre, kailangan mong tignan yung bola kung saan papunta. Next, move to where the ball is going to go. Kung saan papunta yung bola, siyempre, nandun ka rin para makatch mo. Next, face the ball square. And bend your knees. So, kailangan naka-bend yung knees mo para yung pag-catch mo ng bola is hindi masakit yung kamay mo tsaka nasa good position ka. Next is, extend your arms forward and place your ungloved hand against the side of your mitt. So, kapag magka-catch ka, dapat yung isang kamay mo na walang glove nakadikit sa kamay mo na may glove or the support. Next is, be ready to throw. So, kapag nasalo mo na yung bola, be ready to throw na. So, handa ka na para itapon. Yung kaliwang kamay mo yung may glove, ang gamitin mo na kamay na itatapon is yung kanan, yung walang glove. So, yun yung sa catch. Next is catcher's backs. Yung pwesto ng catcher. The catcher's backs is that area within which the catcher must remain until the pitch is released and the pitch ball is batted. Next is charge conference. So, sino yung mga charge conference? O ano yung charge conference? Charge conference takes place when offensive conference, which is the offensive team, requests a suspension of play or delays play to allow the manager to confer with any member of their team. And the defensive conference, which is the defensive team, requests a suspension of play to allow a representative of the defensive team to enter the playing field. Next is chop ball. So ano itong chop ball? In slow pitch, it is the act of the batter chopping down. So kapag yung mag-pitch, yung pitcher is pagtatapon ng bola, kapag yung slow yung pagtapon niya, yung batter, meron siyang gagawing chop ball na parang ibabat niya yung bola pababa. Chopping down on the ball with a chopping motion to make the ball bounce high. So ang gagawin niya is ibabat niya yung bola pababa para yung bola is mag-bounce ng pataas. To make the ball bounce high in the air. So pinagbabawal yun kasi it is illegal. Yung chop ball is illegal. The ball is dead and the batter is out. So kapag nangyari yun, kapag ginawa ng batter na napaluin yung bola, hit yung bola through his or her bat na pababa at saka mag-bounce to the air ng mataas, illegal yon. So, yung batter is out. Next is coach. A coach, syempre, understandable naman, a coach is a person who is responsible for the team's actions on the field. And he represents the team in communications with the umpire and opposing team. Next, section 20 is crow hop. A fielder is said to be crow hopping when she picks up the ball and takes that little hop while preparing to throw. So yung crow hop, nangyayari, tinataas nila yung isa nilang paa para sa pagtapon ng bola. Next section is dead ball. Is one that touches any object that is not part of the official equipment or official playing area, or player or person not engaged in the game. So, nangyayari yung dead ball kapag, yung sabi ko kanina, kapag may ibang tao na hindi kasali sa laro na humawak ng bola. Dead ball automatically. Next is defensive team. So, the defensive team is the player in the field. Kung sino yung makikita mo na mga players sa field, sila yung defensive team. Yung defensive team, sila yung mga nasa loob ng field. Sila yung mga nagsasalo ng bola kasi dinidipinsahan nila na hindi makascore o makaikot sa base yung offensive player, which is yung batter. So, yeah. Next is delayed dead ball. Delayed dead ball is a game situation in which the ball remains alive until the conclusion of play. Now, when the interplay is completed, it requires the umpire shall rule a dead ball and enforce the appropriate ruling. Next is designated player o yung tinatawag na DP, designated player. Ano nga ba itong designated player? Ano yung rule nila? Is a player designated to bat only for one of the 9 starting defensive player, but with some additional defensive options. Next is dislodge base. Ano nga ba yung dislodge base? Is a base displaced from its proper position. So yung dislodge base nangyayari kapag yung player ay wala sa kanyang proper position kung saan siya dapat nakatayo o nakapwesto. Next is double play. So kailan nangyayari yung double play? Ano nga ba yung double play? Is a play by the defense in which 2 offensive players are legally put out as a result of continuous action. Next is dugout. Dugout is a team's bench and is located in foul territory between home plate and either first or third base. So yun yung dugout. Next is ejection from the game. Ejected non-playing personnel must leave the playing field, dugout, and other team areas and be out of sight and sound until the umpire's jurisdiction ends. Out of sight and sound means unable to view the remainder of the game and the umpires cannot hear any additional comments. Next is fair ball. So ito na. Ano nga ba yung pinagkaiba nila ng fair ball tsaka foul ball? So I will explain to you the foul ball later. So fair ball, any batted ball which settles on fair territory between home and first base or home and third base. So yung fair ball, kapag yung bola is lumipad pero hindi lumagpas sa line. So sa line dun sa field. So yun yung fair ball. Ang fair territory is that part of the playing field within and including the first and third base foul lines from home base to the bottom of the extreme playing field fence and perpendicularly upwards. Next is fake tag. So what is fake tag? It's a form of obstructions on a runner. So isang uri ng obstructions na ginagawa ng mga player dun sa tumatakbo. Ino-obstruct nila. Yan. While advancing or returning to a base by a fielder who is not in possession of the ball that impedes the progress of the runner. Next is fielder. The pitcher must use an underarm motion to throw the ball. After throwing the ball, the pitcher then becomes a fielder. So yun yan. They are responsible for catching and fielding ground balls and pop-ups within their area and covering first base when the first baseman cannot. So yun yung rule ng fielder. Section 33. Fly ball is a batted ball hit in an arcing manner. Fielders attempt to catch fly balls on their descent and an out is recorded if the ball is caught before it hits the ground. Flex player. The player listed in the 10th position in the lineup will play defense only and will be called the flex player. So kung sino yung nasa 10th position na player, siya yung maglalaro ng defense only lang. Siya yung tinatawag na flex player. Flex player can play defense but can never be on offense. So yun yung rule ng flex player. Next is forced out. It's made when a base runner is forced to leave his base when the batter becomes a base runner himself and a fielder successfully tags the next base before the runner can reach it. Next is forfeit. So ano nga ba yung forfeit? If a team fails to appear at their scheduled time of play, the game shall be forfeited. So, kapag walang team na dumating doon sa laro na yon, sa mismong oras na laro na yon, automatically yung team na yun is forfeited. O in other terms, sa ibang laro is yung madi-default. So, yun yung forfeit. Next section is foul ball. So, ito na yung foul ball. Yung pinagkaiba ng fair ball tsaka foul ball. Ang foul ball is a batted ball that settles in foul territory between home and first base or between home and third base, or that bounds past first or third base in or over foul territory beyond first or third base. Yung fair ball, kapag yung bola is bumagsak sa fair territory, automatic fair ball yon. Pero kapag yung foul ball bumagsak sa foul territory, automatically foul ball yon. So, yun yung pinakaiba nila. Section 38, foul territory. So, ito yun yung foul territory. Ito na yun. Foul territory or foul ground is defined as that part of the playing field outside the first and third base lines, extended to the fence and perpendicularly upwards. Next is foul tip. Ano nga ba yung foul tip? It's a batted ball that goes sharply and directly to the catcher's hand or glove and is legally caught. It is considered equivalent to a ball in which the batter swings and misses, in that the base runner are able to advance at their own risk. Next is helmet. Helmet helps to distribute the forces of any ball that strikes the batter's head. So, itong helmet is importante talaga yan sa naglalaro ng softball o kahit sa baseball kasi protection sa ating mga ulo. Next is home team. Ano nga ba yung home team? Is the team on host grounds the game is played, or if the game is played on neutral ground. The home team shall be designated by mutual agreement or by a flip of a coin. Next is illegal bat. Section 42, illegal bat. Kailan nangyayari yung illegal bat? When the bats are broken, altered, or that deface the ball are illegal. Kapag yung ating bat ay may sira, may something may binago, automatically illegal bat yon. Bawal yun sa larong softball. Materials inside the bat or treatments or devices used to alter the bat specifications and or enhance performance, example, shaving, rolling, or artificially warming the bat barrel o basta binago, are prohibited and render the bat illegal. So yun yung illegal bat. Next is illegal extra player. So merong illegal extra player is one who violates any of the provisions. Section 44, which is illegal pitcher. Of course, when the pitcher breaks a roll while delivering her pitch, the illegal pitch is called by the umpire, resulting in an awarded ball to the batter in the box. So nangyayari naman tong illegal pitcher, magiging illegal sila kapag yung pitcher breaks a roll. Sinira nila yung rule ng laro, yung pagtapon ng kanilang bola. Kasi nangyayari yung illegal pitcher sa pamamagitan ng kanilang pagtapon, sa pamamagitan ng kanilang pag-pitch ng bola. Next is illegal player. Ilan naman nangyayari yung illegal player? It happens when a player who takes a position in the lineup, either on offense or defense, who has not reported to the plate umpire. So kapag yung nangyayari tong illegal player, kapag yung isang player nag-sub siya sa isang player o pinipwesto niya yung position ng kanyang kasama na hindi nagpapaalam dun sa umpire. So yun yung illegal player. Next is illegal re-entry. So ano nga ba yung illegal re-entry? Of course, when a starting player returns to the game a second time after twice being substituted. A starting player returns to the game after being substituted but not in his original position in the offensive lineup. Kapag bumalik siya sa kanyang pwesto ng twice pero hindi na doon sa kanyang dating position. So, illegal re-entry ang tawag doon. Next is illegal substitute. Ano nga ba yung illegal substitute? It's a player who has entered the game without being announced to the umpire. For example, a substitute who has not previously been in the game. Yung player, matatawag yung illegal substitute kapag yung isang player nag-sub sa kanyang kasama na hindi in-announce ng umpire. So, illegal substitute ang tawag doon. Next is illegally batted ball. So, sa pagbabat ng bola, mayroon ding illegal. Of course, when the batter hits the ball fair or foul while his entire foot is completely out of the batter's box. So yun yun. Kapag yung batter nagbat ng bola, although tama yung pagbat niya, pero yung kanyang paa, yung isa niyang paa is hindi nakatapak sa batter's box, automatically illegally batted ball ang tawag doon. Next is illegally caught ball. So kung merong illegal sa pag-bat ng bola, meron ding illegal sa pag-caught ng bola, yung sa pag-catch ng bola. So what is that? Of course, when a fielder catches a batted or thrown ball or pitch ball with his cap, mask, glove, or any part of his uniform while it's detached from its proper place. Next is Section 50, ineligible player. So, ano nga ba yung rule ng ineligible player or ano nga ba sila? Shall be suspended from further play in the tournament and in any subsequent tournament for which he or she may have. So, yung ineligible player, sila yung mga sinususpende. Ayun, from further play in the tournament and in any subsequent tournament. Next is ineligible replacement player. So, ano nga ba yung ineligible replacement player? Is a player who may not enter the game to replace a player who must leave the game to attend to an injury that has caused bleeding. So, nangyayari yung ineligible replacement player kapag yung halimbawa kapag yung kasama mo na sa loob ng laro is na injury at lumabas pero walang pumalit sa kanya. Ang tawag doon is ineligible replacement player. Hindi lamang sa injury, meron ding when a player has been removed from the game by the umpire for a violation of the rules or is in the current lineup. Next, Section 52 is in flight. In flight describes any batted or thrown ball or pitch ball that has not yet touched the ground or some object other than a fielder. Next section is in jeopardy. So ano nga ba yung in jeopardy? In jeopardy is a term indicating that the ball is in play and an offensive player may be put out. Next is infield. Is that portion of the field in fair territory that includes areas normally covered by infielders. So kung may infield, infielder. Ang infielder is yung tao. Infielder is a defensive player including the pitcher and catcher who is generally positioned anywhere near or within the lines of the base path forming fair territory. Lahat ng yung pitcher at lahat ng catcher, sila yung tinatawag na infielder. Next is infield fly. What is infield fly? It's a fair fly ball that can be taught by an infielder with ordinary effort when first and second and third base are occupied before two are out. So, lagi ninyong tatandaan sa infield fly, if a declared infield fly falls untouched to the ground outside the baseline and bounces fair before passing first or third base, it is an infield fly. Next is inning. Inning is made up of 2 rounds where both teams take or turn each to bat and field. Each half of the inning will not end till 3 out occurs. At the end of all 7 innings, if the score is tied, There will be extra innings played until a winner emerges. Next is intentional base on balls. Ano nga ba yung intentional base on balls? Is referred to as an intentional walk. So yun yung referred to as intentional walk. Intentional walk is when the defensive team intentionally issues a walk to the batter. Next is intentionally drop fly ball. When an infielder deliberately drops a fair ball or a line drive to set up a double play situation, runners may safely return to the bases they occupied at the time of the pitch. Runner cannot advance under this rule. Next is interference. So what is the interference? It's the act of an offensive player that impedes, hinders, or confuses a defensive player attempting to execute a play. Interference can be anything from a distraction by running too near the fielder to actual contact. Section 61, leaping, is the act of a pitcher that causes him to be airborne on his initial move in push from the pitcher's plate. Next is legal touch. What is legal touch? It's the action of a fielder in touching or tagging. Yun yung legal touch. Kailan nga ba nangyayari yung legal touch? It happens when the batter runner who is not in contact with the base with the ball securely held in his hand or hands or glove. The ball is not considered as having been securely held if it is juggled or dropped by the fielder after touching the batter runner or runner. Next is legally caught ball. Kung merong illegally caught ball, meron ding legal caught ball. So ano nga ba yung legally caught ball? A catch is a legally caught ball which occurs when the fielder catches a batted or thrown ball with his hands or glove. Next is line drive. A batted ball hit hard enough and low enough that it appears to travel in a relatively straight line. The line drive went straight in the shortstop's glove. So itong line drive is medyo delikado to siya kasi minsan kapag yung batter, kapag pag-pitch ng pitcher tapos binat niya, yung bola is tumama sa nag-pitch, yun yung line drive, isang direction lang. Tapos malakas yun. May tendency na matamaan yung pitcher sa mukha o kahit saan parte ng kanyang katawan. So, medyo delikado yung line drive. Next is line up and line up card. So, ano nga ba yung line up and line up card? Is the list of players who are currently involved playing offensive and defensive positions in the game, including the designated player and the flex player. Next is obstruction. When a fielder does not have the ball and is not in the act of fielding a batted ball, an obstruction occurs if that fielder impedes the progress of a base runner. Next is offensive player. If is a player in the batting order other than the flex player for whom the designated player is playing defense. Offensive team is the team at bat. So kung sino yung team na nagbabat, sila yung tinatawag na offensive player. Kung sino naman yung team naman na nagka-catch o na nagpipitch, sila yung defensive team. Next is official equipment. The official equipment are helmet, chest protector, and shin guards are the main equipment required for safety and to play softball, will require the ball, a bat, gloves, and of course the uniforms. Next is section 70, on deck batter. On deck batter refers to being next in line to bat in a professional game. The batter who is on deck traditionally waits in a location in the foul territory called the on-deck circle. Next is on-deck circle, is where the next scheduled batter or on deck, batter warms up while waiting for the current batter to finish his turn. So yung on deck circle, kapag yung player is nandun sa on deck circle, naghihintay na matapos yung kanyang kasama. Na pag matapos yung kanyang kasama ng magbabak. So dun siya pupwesto sa on deck circle. Next is 1 meter 3 foot line. Is the area that last half distance between home and first base, where a batter runner must run to avoid being called out for interfering with a thrown ball from the home plate area. Next is option play. What is option play? It's a play in which the offensive coach or manager is given the choice of taking the enforcement of the illegal action of the result of the play. Next is outfield. What is outfield? Outfield is that portion of the field that is outside the diamond formed by the baselines or the area not normally covered by an infielder, and within the foul lines beyond first and third bases and boundaries of the grounds. That's the outfield. Next is overslide. It's the act of an offensive player when her slide to base other than when advancing from home to first base is the such momentum that she or he loses contact with the base. Next is overthrow. Sobra yung pagtapon. A thrown ball which goes out of play in any manner will be declared an overthrow. Any runner or runners will be awarded one base in addition to the base to which the runner was advancing when the overthrow was made. Next is pass ball. What is pass ball? Basically, when the pitcher pitches a ball that deems to be normal and can be caught normally by the pitcher without extra efforts, but the catcher failed to do so. Next is pitch. Ano yung pitch? It's a relatively simple motion consisting of a step forward from the mound onto the foot on the non-pitching arm side, weight shift onto this foot and rotation of the shoulders and twang to a position facing the batter. Next is pitcher circle. It's the location of the softball field where the softball pitcher stands to pitch the ball to the batter. Kung saan nakapwesto yung pitcher sa kanyang pwesto, yun yung tinatawag na pitcher's circle. Next is pivot foot. May remain in contact with or may push off drag away from the pitching plate prior to the front foot touching the ground. Next is play ball. It's a modified game designed to introduce new players at intermediate and secondary school level to softball. Next is pre-game setting. Is a meeting held at the home plate area at a predetermined time between the umpire and the head coaches or managers or team representatives of the respective teams. The next is protest. Kailan nangyayari yung protest? Is the action of the defensive or offensive team objecting to the interpretation or application of a playing rule by an umpire or the eligibility of a team roster member. Next is quick return pitch. Is one made by the pitcher with the obvious attempt to catch the batter off balance. This will be before the batter takes his desired position in the batter's box or while he is still off balance as a result of the previous pitch. Next is re-entry. Is the act of any of the starting player returning to the game after being legally or illegally substituted. So that's called re-entry. Removal from the game is the act of the umpire declaring a player ineligible for further participation in the game other than as a coach as a result of an instruction of the rules. Next is replacement player. is a player required to enter the game for a designated period of time to replace a player who must leave the game to attend to an injury that is caused bleeding. So nangyayari yung replacement player kapag yung kasama niya na naglalaro is nang-join. Next is runner. The batter becomes a runner. Kung sino yung nagbabat, automatically siya yung base runner. When they hit a ball in fair territory and runs to first base, walks after 4 balls or hit by pitch. Next is slap hit. It's a batted ball that has been struck with a controlled bat or chopping motion rather than with a full swing. That's a slap hit. Next is squeeze play. Ano nga ba yung squeeze play? Squeeze play, a play executed when there is a runner on third base and usually not more than 1 out, in which the runner starts for home as soon as the pitcher makes a motion to pitch and the batter bants. Also called safety squeeze play. Next is starting player. Understandable naman, diba? Starting player are the players listed on the official line up given to the umpire-in-chief and or the plate umpire. So that's the starting players. Next is stealing. Stealing is similar to slow pitch rules. With fast pitch, a runner can't lead off or leave the base, but as soon as the ball is released from the pitcher's hand, the runner can attempt to steal a base. Next is strike zone. Ano nga ba yung strike zone? Strike zone is the area over home plate from the midpoint between a batter's shoulders and the top of the uniform pants. Next is substitute. What is substitute? Any player may be substituted for a replaced and re-entered once, provided the players occupy their same batting position in batting order. So nangyayaring substitute as well as yung kanyang pinalitan, same position sila. Pero pag nasa ibang position na siya, illegal substitute ang tawag doon. Next is tagging up. Tagging up occurs in softball when a runner or runners on base advance to the next base on a ball hit on the air, often to the outfield with less than 2 outs. Next is team member. Taking turns as batters to play against the other team of fielders, with a latter side made up of pitcher, a catcher, 3 basemen, a shortstop, and 3 outfielders. Next is temporary runner. So what is the temporary runner? Temporary runner is a player who may run for the catcher of record from the preceding half or inning, who is on base with 2 outs. The use of temporary runner is optional for the offensive coach. Next is throw. Yung pagtapon, throw, is the act performed by a fielder when throwing the ball to another fielder. That's the throw. Next is time. Is the term used by the umpire to order the suspension of play during which the ball is dead. Next section is trap ball. Trap ball, a thrown ball to any base force out which is caught with a glove over the ball, on the ground rather under the ball. Next is triple play. What is triple play? Occurs when the defending team records 3 outs on a single defensive play. Triple play are rare for several reasons. Next is turn at bat. Begins when a player first enters the batter's box and continues until he is out or becomes a base runner. Next is wild pitch. Ano nga ba yung wild pitch? Wild pitch, when his pitch is so errant that the catcher is unable to control it, and as a result, base runner advance. But a general rule of thumb is that if the pitch hits the dirt or misses A catcher's glove altogether, it's a wild pitch. Section 104 is wild throw. Ano nga ba yung wild throw? Wild throw is a play in which ball is thrown one fielder to another and cannot be caught or controlled is not black remains in play. Nangyayari yung wild throw kapag yung catcher tinapon niya sa isang catcher at yung catcher naman tinapon niya naman sa isang catcher pero hindi nasalo, cannot be caught or controlled. Next is withdrawn plate. Withdrawn plate happens, or withdrawn plate is a player forced to leave the game or line up in accordance with a replacement player ruling. That's the withdrawn plate. That's all the sections of rule number 1, which is definitions. 105 sections.